Well, I woke up today and the world was a restless place. It could have been that way. Oh, I wish today was just like any other day. 'Cause today has been the best day that I ever had. So have a good life, do it for me. Makes me so sad, makes me turn up to be. La 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 la. Oh. Okay, I think enough of that. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Born Again, the Children in Need special written by Russell T Davies and is directed by Len, and also as well The Christmas Invasion, written by Russell T Davies and is directed by James Hawes. Technically, The Christmas Invasion is the first story to feature the 10th Doctor. It's his first full appearance. It was also the first Christmas special, one of the first in a tradition of Doctor Who having one special around Christmas Day, which would eventually end in 2017 and be replaced by the New Year special. But before that, we had the Children in Need special, which actually has no official title. It's a small little, it feels like a deleted scene, but apparently it was made exclusively for Children in Need. And it is actually a bookend between the last story and the Christmas Invasion. It sees the Doctor right after he's just regenerated, and the scene takes entirely in the TARDIS, and we see the Doctor learn to grow with Rose, and Rose is like, she starts off like sheltering, she's quiet, she's surrounded herself, and then the Doctor's all like pedantic, and that then leads on a cliffhanger that leads directly into the Christmas Invasion. So you can't really ignore it. The Christmas Invasion, fun fact, was also the longest episode, singular episode, that was ever made up until its broadcast in terms of Doctor Who. Beating the 5 Doctors as the longest singular episode. It would be surpassed until much later on in other Christmas specials. The longest episode, as far as I'm aware, is the latest New Year's special, Resolution of the Daleks. Resolution of the Daleks? It's something of the Daleks. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about David Tennant's introduction to the series of Doctor Who. Now, David Tennant is someone that we really need to talk about, because this guy, the behind the scenes of this guy is fascinating. He isn't just any other actor. He isn't just somebody that the production team liked, and so they cast him, and he knew about Doctor Who, but the thing, David Tennant was probably the first ever person. I mean, Peter Davison prior towards him, and to extent Colin Baker, have been enjoyed the show, shall we say, prior to their casting. But David Tennant was the first fan with histories of letters to the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, and has actually cited Doctor Who on multiple occasions as the reason he started acting, and one of his main goals was to play the Doctor once in his life. Now, this guy, his acting career, despite being very small in terms of it's very low key, prior to Doctor Who, he has done a lot. He was becoming really big in 2005. In fact, prior to being cast as the Doctor, he had starred in The Goblet of Fire, the 4th Harry Potter film, as one of the main villains in that film. He had appeared in the hit TV series Castrovalva, which is also produced by Russell T Davis, interestingly enough, using the Quatermass TV series, but mostly he was known for his Shakespeare work. Shakespeare actors are always known to be some of the best and some of the most professional actors that you can find. And it feels like he's literally done all this. His career has been built up just to play this one role. This role of a character that we don't even know the name of. And David Tennant got to play his dream, got to play every Doctor Who's fan's dream, to play the Doctor. And the idea, the imagery of somebody growing up on Doctor Who, buying the merchandises, watching all the stories, getting a Tom Baker scarf, and then becoming the lead of the show is just, it brings my heart to war. It really hits me there. It's really, really great stuff. David Tennant, there's nothing I can say against him. He is an absolute legend when it comes to personality traits, and he would be easily the most popular Doctor of the revived series, hasn't been topped since. He is, many people has described him as the Tom Baker of the revived series, even being to the extent that he is currently the longest actor to play it in the revived series. Not even like touching Tom Baker's 7-year run, but he was longer with just under 5 years, I think it was. Yeah, just under 5 years, 4 years, shall we say, then. So that is David Tennant's up to his detail. Now, the 10th Doctor, the way I have described him with my friends and people I talk about Doctor Who, you might get the impression that I don't like the 10th Doctor, and that is wrong. You know, I love the 10th Doctor as much as the next man. I just feel like, comparing him with my opinions on the other Doctors, he would probably be, like, I feel like Doctor Who always gets the best actors to play the Doctor. Like, I don't think there has been a single person yet that has been miscast as the Doctor. But I feel like in terms of the characterization, the scripts that David Tennant was given, he would be, I don't want to say my least favourite, because that makes it feel like I'd say like he's the worst Doctor. But he is my, you know, I have like a complicated relationship because I love David Tennant. I love the 10th Doctor. But, you know, and I don't want to give the impression that, you know, he's a bad Doctor or I don't like his Doctor. I just don't like certain aspects of his character and certain stuff that he was given. There's not really much to talk about. Now, you might have noticed I don't have a DVD of the Christmas Invasion. That is because I thought I had it. It was something I just presumed I had. And it turned out when I was doing this marathon series, I don't own it. I did plan on getting out, but as of recording this video, which is in January, believe it or not, I couldn't get myself a copy because the UK is currently in lockdown. Thank you, Boris. Anyway, so yeah, let's get on to the story at hand. Starting off with Born Again, which actually has a controversy with its title. Russell T Davis actually stated in the script that this story should not have a title. Fans have put together a few ideas. The BBC have mixed reference with different reference books and stuff, have titled this story different things. One of them is The Children in Need Special, which is it's so far the closest thing we have to an official title. There's also the Russell T Davis's jokey title he's given it, which is The Pudsey Cutaway, a reference to the Dalek Cutaway, an alternative title to Mission to the Unknown. But But the more common one, the one that I'm using, is Born Again, mainly because it tackles, you know, the Doctor being born yet again. Like I said, it feels like a deleted scene. There's not real much of a narrative towards it, but it does show some really great written work by Russell T Davies and some aspect of each of the characters. There's a great. I like how Rose Tyler is very shy at the start. She hides behind one of the TARDIS pillars, whilst the Doctor, you know, is obviously just regenerated. He's just burst out with new life. Is very hyperactive. He speaks really quick. He acts all flamboyant. He's like, Skinny, this is weird. I'll get used to it. I have a mole, and he's acting all like. As you would expect a new Doctor to regenerate. Of course, though, most people watching this wouldn't know what to expect. This was the first time for many people to have witnessed a regeneration. This is the first time that a Doctor that they have loved, that they have enjoyed, that they have seen growing up, well, I say growing up, it was 1 year, had transformed in front of their eyes into a completely new man, into a completely different actor. And Rose is the surrogate for the audience here, as she starts off very timid. She's very quiet. She hides almost like an animal, which I find really strange. And the Doctor, and I like how in the scene they slowly get closer and closer and closer. Eurolin is great with placing his actors in and cropping them, and I like how the characters' relationship to each other is referenced by the fact of how close they are. When the Doctor goes up to her and is like, "If I am the Doctor, I can prove it," and he talks about the memory of their first meeting in Rose, where he grabs the hand and says, "Run," and they come really close with one another. But then, right after that, the Doctor starts going mad again, something which the Ninth Doctor wouldn't have, not that he wouldn't have done, but not have done it in this way, which makes Rose feel a lot more alienated again, especially when the Doctor starts hopping on one leg. And it's also here that we get this idea that something might have gone wrong in the regeneration process. The Doctor starts, he cancels the trip to Barcelona to head to the Powell estate on Christmas Eve. And when he's like, "Oh, I just changed, I didn't," and then he can't get the words out. And his head starts pounding as he forces the TARDIS to go faster, showing probably David Tennant, why David Tennant was picked as an actor for this role. When David Tennant is like when he's told, right, go 10 out of 10, insane, crazy, like over the top, David Tennant knows exactly how to play it. How he, when he's like, "Oh, my head," he jumps up and it's like, "Faster, we need more speed, let's rip those TARDIS, let's rip those engines open." And the TARDIS is quickly flying through the vortex at high velocity to 2006 Christmas Eve. So that's the Born Again short. It's okay, it doesn't feel anything related to New Year, to Children in Need. It has nothing really connected to it. Probably for the better, in my opinion. Maybe it's more for the story of Doctor Who than Children in Need. It is mainly for a little glimpse for the fans and something to connect the two stories. But there's nothing really there. But it's really nice to see more of David Tennant and Rose right after the parting of the waves, and it does connect the stories and gives us a little bit more insight into the characters and the development. So on to the Christmas Invasion. We start off seeing a lot of 2006. In fact, they have a reused shot from Rose where it comes down onto the earth, and we see Jackie Tyler getting the Christmas stuff up, and we hear the TARDIS noises and they start running. We see Mickey Smith, who hears the noise and starts running. Basically, they are the grounding, what brings 2006 London, the Doctor Who a familiar location, which actually really helps identify us with this new Doctor, because we're surrounded by things we're familiar with. The only real new thing are the villains and the Doctor. And we learn with the rest of our characters to enjoy the company of this new Doctor. When the Doctor comes out, he's like, he knows Mickey and Jackie, and he's being like all like David Tennant-y, and it's like, okay, hold on, grabs her by the shoulder, something I need to say, something, Merry Christmas, and collapses onto the floor. And we also get the silly Doctor Who line, which really doesn't make sense in my opinion in this story. I felt like that line was a little bit forced, but there you go. And that leads into the title sequence of the Christmas Invasion. Now, this story is directed by, let me get one thing out of the way. This story is directed by James Hawes, who not only did a great job, but also won an award for his work on The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, putting him up there as a very reliable, great director for Doctor Who, which allowed Russell T Davies the confidence of hiring him up to kick off the David Tennant era. But I feel like, do you know how some actors get miscast? I feel like James Hawes is misdirected, if that makes a sense. What makes that story, his previous story, look so well and look so great is his eye for lighting, specifically lighting in dark, gloomy environments. Everything in that story shines out with this, almost like the shadows are lights, and using the shadows to also tell the story. But here we're telling the story with a lot more daytime scenes and a lot more brighter environment, which I feel like doesn't play to James Hawes' strengths. In fact, some of the CGI work in this story, especially when we see the satellite Gwenethia get captured by the alien ship, I felt that scene just looks absolutely horrible. And some of the daytime scenes, I feel like really, most of them, not all of them, especially when we get to the ending, but a majority of the bright time scenery and the bright time shots, they just don't look as nice as I think they could have been with a different director. However, there are some night scenes, there are some darker scenes. There's a great bit where, with the Santa Claus robots things, in the night time, and that's shot perfectly well. But yeah, I just felt like he was a missed choice for directing this story, in my opinion. But anyway, oddly enough, this story has the Doctor, the newly regenerated Doctor, out of commission for the majority of the story. This isn't something that's particularly new. We had a great example is again with Peter Davison, and the connections between these two Doctors are just absolutely, it's borderlining on the insanity and how similar these Doctors are. But in one aspect that their opening stories is that for the most part they're out of commission. Now in Cast Revolver, it's not that bad, mainly because that is a 4-part long story with the main 2 episodes with him out of the commission, slowly learning us to grown up this Doctor, with then the other 2, which is then half the story, with us with the Doctor, and we get to learn and experience and like this Doctor as well with the companions. But here we're only tackling one story, and when they say the Doctor's out of commission for the majority of it, I mean like he gets one scene of like being up, and then he's out of commission again until literally the last 10 minutes of the episode. Now that's not particularly bad. It allows us to grow up with, it helps in a way with the audience viewers of helping us process with our characters the change. However, it means that David Tennant is really he doesn't really have much time to leave an impact on our viewing audience, as we don't let to learn in this story. We don't really get to learn his quirks, his personality, what makes this new Doctor stand out. In fact, by the end of the story, I don't even think the Doctor really knows, with the exception of really putting on his new costume at the end. So, in a way, in my opinion, this story is kind of a very weak introduction to the 10th Doctor, because, well, he's not in it for the majority of the story, so, yeah. But this story relies on us being familiar with certain characters and stuff. A great example is actually Harriet Jones, who is now the Prime Minister, and she gets to interact with Torchwood. This is the first story in the revived series where Torchwood are not only seen, but have a major impact in the story. Oddly enough, they have no scenes with the Doctor himself. Sure, they mention him, and they get a lot of scenes with Harriet Jones, but think about it, it's strange. Unit was one of the biggest aspects of Doctor Who in the 1970s and 60s. And now they don't even get a scene with each other. Again, it's not really a criticism, but I just find it personally really, really strange. In fact, the story is paced completely strange and odd. Rose is trying to figure out what to do, and she can't just sit there and do nothing, as the Doctor is weak and stuff, and Mickey takes her out to basically try and go Christmas shopping until these robot fish things, well, they're not robot fish, but these aliens disguised as Santa Claus start attacking Rose and Mickey in the middle of the street as they chase back to the Powell estate. And we get probably one of my favourite scenes in just pure silliness, where they go back and Rose notices that Jackie's got a new Christmas tree, but Jackie doesn't remember getting a new Christmas tree. She thought Rose got it. And then the tree starts moving, and it's like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. As the music plays Jingle Bells, but it speeds up as this tree goes so fast that it starts breaking everything in its path. And Rose, Mickey and Jackie are locked up in the bedroom, with Jackie probably having one of the best lines in all of season 2. I know it's technically a season 1 story, but personally, because it's got David Tennant, I consider this a season 2 adventure in which Jackie proclaims, "I can get killed by a Christmas tree." That is like an internet meme right there. And Rose asks the Doctor, whispers in his ears "We need your help," and the Doctor gets up and zaps the tree, destroying it. And he quickly gets up and he notices these creatures outside, and basically teleports them away. And the Doctor starts collapsing again, stating that those things, they are, what does he say, capplefish, something like that, which is a term in biology, the study of fish, in which you have smaller fishes which travel alongside bigger fishes like sharks, and they basically scavenge the all of the waste and the food of the bigger shark. And the Doctor basically warns us, right, if these creatures are here, then something bigger is coming. Before getting knocked out and goes back in a coma out of action again for the majority of the story. Now this is what I mean by a weird pacing story. This is one of the few times in which Doctor Who, I mean, it's not new anymore, but back then, like, you know, the idea of Doctor Who doing one-parters was still a very new concept. And we have like the special to tell this story. And we have like a secondary villain which isn't really connected with the first, only with the idea that, you know, the bigger ones are coming. To the first half of the story. Again, this is not bad, it's just very weird pacing. I do actually kind of like this because, again, it sets up the appearance of these monsters who have taken the satellite which humans have sent on Christmas Eve and plan to use it to help conquer the Earth. These creatures are the Sycorax. New to Doctor Who fans at the time, but not to us who have been doing this Doctor Who marathon, as they've appeared in the classic Doctor's New Monsters, The Harvest of the Sycorax, featuring the 7th Doctor. So, from my point of view, watching this now, these are recurring villains, which is really strange to put that in your head. I've seen these monsters before, I've listened to these monsters before. The Doctor has tackled the Sycorax before. Very interesting that, you know, now I'm watching it in the order of, from the Doctor's point of view. But these were new concepts during, the Sycorax were new monsters at the time. And their design is so goddamn cool, but it is actually surprising. They are like the Zygons of the new generation. They're one-off villains, well, one-off in terms of the television, and everyone was begging, pining them to return, and they just didn't. Apart from like barring like a few cameos here and there, the Sycorax have never had like an actual venture to themselves anymore. It's really strange like that. But I guess it means that we focus on this story for our fix of Sycorax. Another fun fact is that this is actually one of the few villains, or few monsters, few aliens of the Doctor Who race, Doctor Who universe, that have their own language, as when the Doctor's out of action because he's connected to the TARDIS, the universal translator circuits are out of commission, meaning that humans, as well as Rose and us as the viewing audience, can actually hear the alien languages that they're speaking. I believe this Conlangs are fictional languages, for those of you who don't know. I don't believe it's a well thought out. I imagine it was just the actors going and, you know, just imagining the fact that they are technically speaking real languages. But I would love to have someone make this into a real Conlang. I would love to learn how to speak Sycoraxese. That's the language of the Sycorax. What I find really bizarre in this story is the characterization of Rose. In the previous story, she starts kicking off, she gets annoyed, she gets angry by the fact, you know, that she can't just let the Doctor die. She's got to fight back, she's got to help save the day. And it's by the same writer, they're both by Russell T Davies. And this story, when she notices that there's aliens out there about and that the Doctor has changed and his Doctor is slightly out of commission at the moment, Rose gives up. It's just like, we've already lost, there's nothing we can do apart from really just protect the Doctor and hope that just really do nothing. We don't know, like, she doesn't even like trust that the Doctor is the Doctor at this moment, and she's just she just gives up. All of that stuff that I liked about Bad Wolf and Partner of the Waves, and now Rose Tyler is just suddenly like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. that bit is just really weak. But Harriet Jones gets captured by the Sycorax after they come up with this mind control system in which they can control anyone with A+ positive, blood, and makes them go up to the highest building that they can find and stand at the edge, about to jump, about to fall off, and make them all basically commit suicide by mind control, holding the world at ransom. And Harriet Jones tries to bargain with them, but with no avail. They track the TARDIS after Mickey uses a screen. Mickey, Rose help the Doctor try and get in the TARDIS because the ship has just landed in the atmosphere, so they're trying to hide the Doctor in the TARDIS. It's the best they can do. And Rose comes out in the TARDIS, and the Sycorax are like, right, she has the superior technology, so therefore she speaks for Earth. And as much as I don't like Rose Tyler, I love Billie Piper. She's such a fantastic actress, and I really love this scene in which she's clearly not confident, she's clearly nervous, she's direct, she looks up, she sees all of these, a crowd of Sycorax just wanting her head, and her voice is so clearly nervous, but she does her best. She's like, she quotes the Doctor, and there's like, an Article 15 of the Shadow Proclamation, I hereby demand that you leave peacefully under the orders of the Slitheen of the Raxafatorial Balbatorius and the Gelth, and the Daleks. And the Sycorax laugh as they realise these words are stolen. And we get a really, which reminds me a lot of Stephen Moffat, where the Sycorax is talking and the guy who's translating it is there translating, and slowly the words that the Sycorax are speaking seem to be familiar until basically the translator is saying exactly what the Sycorax is saying. The Sycorax seemingly is speaking English, which means only one thing, as all the characters turn around as the 10th Doctor opens the door and is like, do you miss me? Showing now, and we finally get our scene in which the Doctor can, David Tennant can finally be the Doctor, in a sense. As he is Baratic, he laughs, but he takes the mick, he belittles the Sycorax, he jokes about why is his hair not ginger, and how he's he doesn't know who he is, he might be a rude person now, and he sees this giant button, and so he has to press it, which everybody thought is what triggers the mass suicide, but actually releases everybody, as the Doctor explains. Blood hypnosis is much like voodoo. You can hypnotize somebody to be a chicken or sing Elvis, but you can't hypnotize them to death. Basic instincts are too strong. And it really showed the acting, the flamboyancy, the way David Tennant plays this is so unique. I can't think of any other, in terms of his performance, of any other actor that would have played it exactly the way he did. He borrows a lot of elements here and there from previous Doctors, because he's a Doctor Who fan. Mainly, I see a lot of Tom Baker, especially with his grinning teeth and his sheep-like expressions when he's just joyful, and a bit of Peter Davison with his very innocent, very sweet persona. But in my opinion, it doesn't help by the way Russell T Davies writes the Doctor. It plays to that, to David Tennant, is hints of previous Doctors, but that's really it. We don't get really a great idea of who this Doctor is on his own. In terms of what the script, we get some really nice silly moments, like when he's trying to give the speech, but then he's like, hold on, sorry, that's the Lion King. But I feel like obviously it doesn't matter to like New Who fans, but me personally, and I understand, you know, this is something which I feel like nobody else really understands apart from me. But me watching this, it's like I can see where these elements are borrowing from when it comes to different, to these two particular doctors. Which means this doctor isn't very unique in terms of him standing out, in my opinion, you know. I am very, like, in the minority in this opinion. Not to say it's bad. I mean, let's be honest. If I was the Doctor, I would probably do the same thing and borrow elements from previous Doctors. It's something that if you're a Doctor Who fan playing the Doctor, you're not going to help. You're not going to. There's nothing you could do help it. You know, you're in that mindset. You know this character. You know how he, in a way, should be played in your head mindset. It's just as a viewer, I saw those elements so clear as day that it felt sometimes, not all, no, you know, just a little bit, like it felt like a little less unique compared to the Ninth Doctor or the Eighth or the Seventh or the Sixth Doctors, you know. That's it in terms of my complaint to the Doctor in this story. We also get one of the few action scenes where the Doctor challenges the Sycorax leader to a sword fight. I love it when Doctor Who does sword fights. There was one small one in the Sea Devils with the Third Doctor and the Master. There was one in the King's Demons, also with the Doctor, that time the Fifth Doctor and the Master. And now we get another sword fight, probably the first one in which he doesn't fight the Master. And it's really greatly shot, even when it goes outside. I think because it's an action scene, the directing, James Hall's directing, is a little bit more stronger than he is when he does your usual lighter scenes in this story. You can clearly feel, though, he's uncomfortable with it because there's a lot of... When it goes outside and there's action, there's a lot of cutting, trying to hide the weaker elements of the fight scene, you know, and, you know, you want to hide the fact that these are just actors pretending to fight rather than a Time Lord and an alien fighting. But I felt like the cutting might be a little bit off, but the actual fight itself and the cinematography on it is very nice. I also like how most of it is shot like just so that the ground is out of view, and because it's up in the sky, we have our two characters, our two opponents fighting on just a clear blue background as we see just the sky, and it just looks absolutely stunning. And the Sycorax does something which is actually very important later on in the 10th Doctor era, as he cuts off the 10th Doctor's arm, the 10th Doctor's hand. And luckily, though, the Doctor being within 15 hours of his regeneration cycle, his hand can grow back, which technically means that's the 11th Doctor's hand, and then the 11th Doctor has the 12th Doctor's hand, and the 12th Doctor has the 13th Doctor's hand, and the 13th Doctor has the 14th Doctor's hand. Didn't think of that, did you? Or maybe that being within a certain regeneration period means, you know, he just grew back like normal. But I like to think that was Matt Smith's hand. As David Tennant puts it, it's a fine hand! And he takes down the Sycorax in a great moment. He's like, you will swear on the blood of your species that you will surrender and never come to Earth. And he swears, and then the Doctor puts on his pyjamas. Throughout the story, he's been wearing the pyjamas of Jackie's boyfriend, who's been coming to the Power Estate a handful of times. In the scene, after the end of the fight, the Doctor mentions Arthur Dent, implying that, you know, he is, that he knows Arthur Dent. Whether this is supposed to imply that Arthur Dent is a fictional character, or if he's an actual person within the Doctor Who universe, is still left unclear. Personally, I love to think that this means that The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is canon. I don't know which one I would consider canon. Mainly, maybe the BBC TV series from the 1980s, but I love to think that, you know, with Douglas Adams working on both programmes, being the creator of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that they are set in the same universe, along with Blake Seven. I think they make this whole new sci-fi universe, in my opinion, in my head. That's what I like to do. And Doctor Who has a very loose opinion on continuity anyway, so in my head it's canon. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is canon to Doctor Who, and there's also references to hitchhikers throughout all of Doctor Who, but this is the one time in which he literally mentions someone, like the main character of that. So, small little tangent there, but as a fan of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that was really cool to hear. But anyway, the Sycorax leader gets up and is about to throw his sword at the Doctor behind his back before the Doctor throws a Satsuma at a button, opening the floor underneath the Sycorax leader and plummeting him to his death. No second chances, I'm that kind of man. That's the Doctor he proclaims to himself. As the Sycorax leaves, as the Doctor and everybody gets teleported down onto the Earth. And we also get a scene in which they're all celebrating. It's like, yay, we saved the day! The Sycorax are leaving, never to come to Earth again. And throughout the story, we've been hearing about the Torchwood Institute, the secret organisation which might be even more powerful and more well knowledge with alien technology than UNIT itself. And Harriet Jones, like, I know I'm not supposed to know about them, but can we get access to Torchwood? Can we get them to help us defend our borders? And throughout the story, we've been hearing that they are working on something, they've been building up to something, and so Harriet, at the end of this story, proclaims, right, do it, fire, as these giant beams, almost like a big reference to the Death Star in Star Wars, shoots a massive laser, destroying the Sycorax, as the Doctor gets really, really angry at this, as he, basically, it's the moment where him and Harriet Jones' friendship just ends. And you can see the moment in the Doctor's face. He's like, no, you are one of the villains. You are one of the monsters. He even proclaims, it's like, I give them the wrong warning. I should have told them to run away from the monsters, the human race. That is just a fantastic scene. Very powerful stuff. David Tennant showing off why he was such a perfect actor for this series. And we get this really funny but also intense moment where the Doctor's like, I can bring down your entire government in one word. You can't do that. Yeah, not one, 6. And then he goes up to the translator and tells him, don't you think she looks tired? And walks off as Harriet Jones starts like just going nuts. Like, what did you say, Doctor? What did he say to you? Doctor, no, please, I'm so sorry. And then we get a little montage of Doctor picking his new costume and having Christmas dinner. And they celebrate with this snow, which the Doctor proclaims it isn't snow, it's ash. It's all the dead Sycoraxes and their burnt up ship that's come down to the atmosphere. And Rose is like, well, that's not so beautiful after all. As they have this little moment is where we basically learn that Rose is just not going to leave the Doctor. She's going to leave Mickey and Jackie behind again to travel with this new Doctor. As David Tennant his final words is that he believes that this is going to be absolutely fantastic. Quoting and memorising the previous Doctor, the Ninth Doctor. And so there you go, that's Born Again and the Christmas Invasion. Overall, it is a very, very strange story to open up a new Doctor. Not strange as in, there's like weird things going on, although there are weird things going on, like the Christmas tree scene. But it's weird in terms of its pacing. We hardly get any interactions with this new Doctor, and personally, you don't get a good idea of what this character, what this new Doctor is, and making it a very weak introduction to a new Doctor, in my opinion. But it feels, and the whole thing with the Sycorax and the side fish, I'm going to call them the side fish, splitting up the plot into two halves. It was a very weird pace, and again, it's not bad. If this story was set any other time in the 10th Doctor's timeline, then it wouldn't even become an issue. But the fact that this was his introduction story was just like, I'd love to know what Russell T Davies and the writers meeting and the producers all thought about these ideas that Russell T Davies had. It's very strange, but we get to see a lot of Rose Tyler's life. Rose is she's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? She's not really proactive in the story, rather than she just keeps the Doctor there, and we get to see a little bit of her life, which means there are characters that we're familiar with, which means the story still feels like Doctor Who, despite the Doctor hardly being in it. The Mickey and Jackie are so fun to hang around with. Rose, despite being a character I don't like, does have some really great moments, and Billie Piper has some really great scenes here, and really shows off her acting chops. There's some really fun moments with the Christmas tree and the sword fighting, and it's one story that I think a lot of people will remember, a lot of people will have fun. I just personally find it really strange that this is the introduction to the 10th Doctor, one of the most popular Doctors, one of the most memorable things about the new series, one that like everybody is like, right, like this is my favourite, this is the start of my favourite Doctor's era. But it does a very poor job at introducing us to the core concept of the 10th Doctor. It's really, really strange. Which also means the next story, at least the next televised story, has to then again reintroduce us to the Doctor. So we have two like introduction stories for the 10th Doctor. It's really, really bizarre. But in terms of what I think about it, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think this is easily the best of the Christmas specials. It's paced really oddly, but it's paced in a way that keeps the story entertaining, engaging, and it's not bogged down by a lot of Christmas themes, though we have Christmas elements in it. Later stories would have Christmas shoved in your face, and it's to the point where it's kind of painful and distracting from the story. But here the Christmas elements blend well with the actual narrative it's telling. So there you go, that's the Christmas Invasion and Born Again. So join me next time where we'll be playing a Doctor Who game, which a lot of people didn't seemingly know about. But luckily this little nerd, back in 2005, 2006, discovered this little adventure on his own. So join me next time as the Doctor will be tackling a little monster roaming around on Christmas Day, and also trying to free alien races. So join me next time for the attack of the Grask, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!